Hey, my name's Matthew Baker. I am a 41-year-old man now, and used to be a very strong videographer, yet still am very interested in documentary film. I got sort of lost in a documentary film I tried to do when I was transitioning from having to get out of college for my last year because I couldn't afford to do this internship without working, and set out to do an interesting project to see what it's like to be in the streets and sort of go with it. I went out to California, and by the time I got back, I had been sort of disowned by my family for trying to make it entertaining, like a Michael Moore doc. But I'd collected a lot of data through Facebook and other things. Just at the cusp of the time, video and online capabilities were just becoming capable. I sold all my old equipment before upgrading to too much to HD, even though I did have one HD camera before leaving the profession. And ultimately used to have a fair bit of good networking contacts where I was basically advertising advertisement for online platforms and social media through the video work I was doing. Since that time, I came to terms with some very serious things in my life, but that's what's important. I've been very impressed over the years by your business and how it managed to come up without a turnkey operation. But mostly, I'm basically emailing you because I think I have, lived an unfortunate situation trying to create a documentary about homelessness, but ultimately come up with it. I once did a project with a libertarian, now presidential candidate, who was protecting a young woman who was in the Navy, being told not to snitch about herself being raped while she was basically in the Navy. And he was protecting her so that they could cultivate some type of change. Right now, last military article I read, the women are about at 35% commonly reporting rape and 85% reporting sexual harassment, imposing them to have sex, basically. So I know the man fought a courageous fight and sort of got stuck in a no snitch trap. And ultimately, that is really what's been taking over a lot of the gangsterism I find in our country today. But mostly, without snitching, obviously, you have the highest level of human traffic. We live in a world now where people are not just vigilantishly protecting themselves, but vigilantishly, obviously, thus having to punish people. It's sort of a poltergeist in society. When you see someone vagrant, you presume they're there for a reason. And that's why many traffic victims wind up being sort of misassociated into homelessness in many cases because no one really wants to help them out under certain criteria. And under worst case scenarios, sometimes people are perpetuating this vulnerability, as was clarified in many major thrillers, which implicate, people who are in far higher end positions in the government, maybe possibly even secret agency operations, left without memories on the street. It's very clear to me I've been sort of stuck in a no snitch operation against myself because of how many people misinterpreted my video and what I was trying to show them about what were the pitfalls for millennials just coming of age, managing to have to deal with this sort of paycheck to paycheck economy if you're not doing something specifically critical or skilled. But right now, I'm managing to keep myself together, doing waiting tables seasonally and some construction work, but facing some bizarre situations, which I think would enlighten through self biography how traffic is made, how people get left in between the cracks, how people get possessed by underworld people who might be profitable for them for either labor, sex, or essential servitude, which is not appropriate if not paid for, obviously. Ultimately, I've been through this struggle for quite some time now, and really just know the end of my deposition or the end of my video is reobtaining critical shelter to do a well done biography, to, I guess, essentially manage how my personal situation sort of can be expanded to many people's situation. I know you project about 2 million people right now are essentially being held hostage at the border for variable reasons of sexual enslavement and trafficking and labor. I've been around the block. I've seen how the South operates, and luckily they've been given a better minimum wage so that everyday people can deal with this. I've seen human trafficking posters, and they kind of hint to you to realize, someone who's washing your dishes in the back of your restaurant could, in fact, be a traffic victim without you even knowing about it. So, I'm coming to you because I really think I have a pretty impressive biography which could enlighten people that I want to get out. Personally, I'm going to keep trying to do it all on my own, but I do have some people in my family that are major in weapons operations, international networking, as well as tons of people around the federal sanctuary. I grew up in Columbia, Maryland, doing terrorist negotiations, as well as major transparency operations for the Pentagon. I learned graphics personally from one of the brides I used to service, and did a video for her wedding, and she actually got nominated for an Emmy. So I've been around a lot of very important people who have a lot of very important secrets. So managing this documentary got a little out of hand for me and has turned a little bit more into a escapade than a clean, quick way to do what I did with Adam Kokesh, live outside for a day and then feed homeless people in the morning to learn a little bit more. Talk to them about their lives, how they got this way, what left them in such an incapability to self-sufficiently sustain a dignity that keeps them sleeping and eating healthily enough to maintain a consistency and structure in their life, essentially. Ultimately, I'm not sure what this means, but for me, getting a deposition done right now is very simple. I feel like I have about 2,000 hours of self expansive stories. One moment, please. But ultimately, essentially, if we could manage some type of deposition to be made over this, it would really essentially help me quite a bit in disengaging from people who feel fearful of all the things they did and misinterpreting the film from the beginning and taking it as an offense as opposed to a reinforcement to engage people's self awareness about how many pitfalls there are in the modern social system. Uh, we always talk about Canada having a terrible health system because of lines. Well, all the government ran operations are pretty pathetic right now, and they're leaving people in these pitfalls to be possessed very quickly. And all the people in the lower underworld know it and take great advantage of it. Ultimately, if there's any way, maybe we could connect. I think your foundation is incredible. I think it's exactly on point with what we need to do to ingratiate the invisible hand of capitalist America to initiate self reliance as opposed to relying on a big government. For me, obviously, I think, an ADT button in service along with your cell phone to have women and children legally allowed to consistently videotape people in public, and be able to call ADT and refer to a moment in time that was in question, and then say, hey, clearly this is a viable legal matter, and assort it to one of ADT's many lawyers who's willing to, for a reasonable nominal cost, protocol, what this means, send it into the lawyer or send it into the judge, and start having court cases seen much more quickly, much more easily, to reinforce people who are being stuck in this no snitch operation, which is consistent in many different respects around America today, leaving people in positions where higher level members of society are sort of giving them the "you'll never work in this town again" kind of attitude over things that really shouldn't be. Keeping the earnesty and honesty in society, to me, is essential to keeping the trafficking down. But unfortunately, it has hit a chaotic term. Building security protocol like this and manufacturing a AI app that perfectly synergizes a second world economy inside of our first world economy for the people lower than the lower class that just need basic human conditions reaffirmed so that they can keep their minds functioning and their hearts beating. A principal causum to which ultimately we could really do something significant and never hit the ground again with the kind of underworld we've seen in this generation, sort of taking off but also falling out. So ultimately, I'm got a lot of ideas about where this type of information could progress, an argument to totally rethink things now that we've discovered our social systems have been taken very bad advantage of in many ways. But ultimately, if you could reach back out to me and see if there might be something we can do and work together in addressing trafficking. I personally just went through two carnivals, one of which was trying to exploit me sexually and make me sort of stay like a dog in their grasp, and then to another one, which was even 10 times worse, trying to force me into a drug cartel. At which point, when I reported to the police, they were getting paid off, so they shut me up and illegally arrested me. And then did so again in the jail for snitching to my parents what happened. It's just out of this world. It really is. A lot of this doesn't make sense until you take the time to ask me the questions to see where something really pathological was taking place in my interaction with my environment. But ultimately, see where I'm still struggling. Right now I'm trying to get my tax return for the first time in 17 years after H&R Block has blocked me essentially from doing so, or even getting the stimulus, which would have been so easy. My plan to get out of this circumstance right now is get an old taxi boat or a new taxi boat from Alibaba.com, clear out the seats and make myself a little place that I could get things going and eventually get a untamed 2 acres in Hawaii to make a green tea farm that works with CBDs. Because I think that's the more progressive way to holistically go with anti-anxiety, so we don't see so much of this anti-anxiety abuse medication like Xanax and things overwhelming the black markets, and presumption that we really need something that hurts your memory to that degree. CBDs without the THC have been proven far better at just getting stigmata basically because of the nature of it being associated with marijuana. But that's my dream. I believe strongly in Eastern medication tactics as well as Western ones. But naturally, the trafficking in this country has to stop. And we can't be necessarily brutish about all of it. Some of it does take very strong brutishness. I do understand that. But making a society self aware so the broken record doesn't replay is what's most essential to me, in my opinion. But I do have the ability to biography wise get on deposition. A lot of people could find themselves prosecutable by the stories I have, which is, again, where my liability has left me in a tangibility where people are sort of telling me not to tell my story. And it's very sad for me, recognizing that that's their principal motive. But ultimately, if there's any way we could work together on informing society about how trafficking works, I can assure you I have The blueprints to how these sickos operate on the back of my hand. I could really help strategically break down. I've once, when I was had my own business as a videographer before things crashed in my life, did a video for health professionals. My client was the gang specialist speaking to them, so they'd have a DVD copy, but evaluating how hip hop has signaled people in a family like situation to disown their real families and give in to their gang family signals and symbols in such a critical way that it's transformed how you look at the ancient sort of Italian mafia making a strong profit to the everyday person with no options, just trying to make ends meet with a couple crack deals or something like this. And it's really it's spread out the underworld in a pathetic way, and it really is a sad sight to see at this point. But when you can get modern society to see where we can help these people instead of punish these people on one other end of how to manage this stuff, and see them as tragic cases of children who just never got, the right conditioning and maladjusted from bad parenting and bad conditions. I think a lot more steps in precognizant consideration as to how to continue on a positive ends to lower this trafficking number from 2 million, which could be higher for all we know. A strong way to end that sort of thing. So thank you for your time. Thanks for listening to me. I'm sorry I went a little too long on this video, but it's a video I think I could do exceptionally well. And again, all I need is the safety of a place to get it done. I'm going to do it on my own either way, but if there's anything that sounds interesting enough to you that you might want to embark on helping me out personally, get this done a little sooner, and not let it be compromised anymore, it would mean the world to me. Trust me. Thank you.